What have you seen from Jackson since you put him in the lineup? Obviously, he's been a big spark, and you knew what kind of motor he had coming in, but how was he responding to the increased minutes for you?
Yeah, Jackson needs to keep his focus on bringing that spark, bringing that fight, bringing that competitive energy. We know exactly what it looks like defensively. He's down in a stance, he's clapping, he's rotating quickly, he's pressuring the basketball, and now that leads to not only he but us also playing well offensively. So it's been a huge boost for our team. It's been something that's helped elevate our team on both sides of the floor, and at the same time, it's something that we know Jackson can do, so he's accountable to do it every single day. So he can continue to play great. Our team can be elevated, and we can be the best version of who we can be, and that's something he needs to keep focused on.
Is there a specific way you try to approach this time of year with between finals and holidays and bye games, Big 12 looming, that makes this different than other times of the year?
Yeah, it's my responsibility to make sure that at all times we have a tremendous sense of urgency, that we have a competitive spirit. Yet we understand that young people can be easily distracted. It's important to us that they do well on their finals and that they focus on that. But when we have the hour and a half to 2 hours or whatever we have a day for practice, that we're accomplishing things, that we're building on our habits, that we're not just trying to get through the day. So it's something that I take really personal. I have a tremendous sense of pride that on days like these, when you're a few days from a game, when there's other things on your mind, that we keep our focus where it needs to be and that we're continuing to improve, because it's not just, today's practice really matters and getting better, especially for our team, matters. But those are things that you carry those habits forward as you move forward through the season.
Is there anything uniquely difficult about this time of year to get that you've seen in the past?
I think any time you don't have a game for a period of time, it just seems like maybe somebody is hurt or has a minor injury that seems like a bigger injury, or maybe the stress of final exams takes your attention span somewhere else, or for some maybe you're thinking about when you get to go home, and so there's all these things that are in play, I think, for young people. And like I said, I put my trust in our guys on a day-to-day basis, and then on the nights we play the games, they need to put their trust in me of where our focus needs to be, because there are all those additional distractions and things that can take their mind away from the most important thing.
I want to go back to Jackson for a moment. Did you know him when he was growing up?
I didn't know him personally when he was growing up. Became aware of him, I think it was after his sophomore year in the summer. Just was aware of him from following basketball in the state. And then, that next summer he took a jump even into his senior year. He had a really big senior year in high school. And then obviously, the great year he had as a freshman at Wofford, the production and things like that. So, there's probably just someone that, is proud of being from Wisconsin, aware of all the guys from the state and where they end up, going, and keeping an eye on them, and really was impressed with Jackson on the step that he took from his junior year to his senior year to his freshman year of college. And to me, obviously for going from playing there to coming here, that's another step. My belief and confidence in him that he's already shown in back-to-back years he took a pretty good step forward, believing he could do that because of his competitive spirit and because of his his work ethic every day.
When did the state of Wisconsin become, I want to say a basketball hotbed, but when did high school basketball players become big there? And was it, I don't know how you say it.
So you didn't think my career that I had was definitely the opportunity? Okay, got it. I would say, again, for me, when we came to Iowa State and feeling like, there's so many guys from whether it's Milwaukee or the state that had this chip on their shoulder and were better than the level they were being recruited at, felt like, as we came here, that giving those guys opportunity or giving them a different opportunity, maybe they weren't a fit at one of the schools, maybe they were overlooked. And so I don't know, my awareness probably started with Mike Taylor, and then with Deontay Garrett, because I thought Deontay was vastly under-recruited, and obviously since that time there's been some others. So I'm not exactly sure. I felt like the high school basketball, it's like the fish keeps getting bigger as you get older. I tended to think when I was a kid and then even in high school that it was so good, Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but I think my awareness to it more came on when you're on this side of the ledger and you're on this, the coaching side, and they're like, man, there's a lot of good guys in there that aren't getting the level of recruiting, and probably have that extra sense of pride that those guys, if they trust us to come here, that they're successful.
Do you excuse me, do you notice more coaches recruiting that state?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, look, in the last 5 to 10 years, there's been a lot of really highly ranked guys that have gone to blue blood schools and left the state and things along those lines. So I definitely think there's a lot more attention paid to it. I think that there's even a lot more mid-major schools and mid-major plus schools from outside the area coming in. There's very good high school coaches, and I think there's a certain level of competitive spirit and toughness you tend to see in guys because of the high school coaches. So I think it's definitely increased and more schools going in.
On that same line, what Halliburton's doing right now? Like, is that something guys talk about?
Yeah, it is for sure. I mean, what Tyrese is doing right now it's beyond amazing. I mean, it looks like, as Steph Curry made his emergence, right? It looks very similar, shooting ridiculous numbers from three, hitting huge shots down the stretch, yet unbelievable teammate, a smile on your face with energy and enthusiasm. The cool thing about Tyrese Halliburton is, I talk a lot about like the chip on your shoulder or proving people wrong. Like, he has that at a very, very high level. And even, whatever it was a month and a half ago, and I was out in Indianapolis and we were at dinner, and you can just tell that he's got I've got something to prove. And I'm sure that even right now in these moments, as he had the great games leading up to the in-season tournament, and in that tournament, that he's continuing to still set higher standards for himself. So it's been really awesome to see. And when again, I did see how he worked when he was younger and watched him play a lot and saw him through the years. And man, you just tell that he really believes, and he brings like a energy and enthusiasm to everybody in his team that he elevates everyone, even as well as he's playing individually.
Not to focus too much on him with you've got a game coming up, but have you seen a guy react, with that chip on his shoulder, with kind of a joy that he shows? I mean, skipping after he makes a three, I mean, there's a joy that comes out of that, underestimate me at your peril kind of.
Yeah, and that's where, to me, I'm just thinking over all the years. I mean, obviously followed basketball for a long time, and the only one that I thought of, and this is crazy to say, is Steph Curry, right? Because he's got that energy, that hop in his step, that smile on his face. He's interacting with the fans, he's celebrating his teammates, and he's doing all those things. And I don't say that because I'm saying that those guys are the same, but sure. I can't think of somebody else that exemplifies that type of behavior and impact on scoring, winning, and his teammates. That's the guy I immediately think of as well. So it's great to see. It's awesome for us too, because when guys see that you can come to Iowa State and there's not a limit on what you can do after, that paints our program in a positive light, probably helps recruiting, and just and it says a lot about who Tyrese is.
You talked a little bit earlier about Path kind of bringing you guys energy, being in an active defensive stance, clapping, all those different things. I know you talk all the time about playing hard, but to not have to coach that into someone, what does that do in terms of making your process of getting him on the court and knowing his impact is going to be consistent?
I think it's important, for him, he's the best player on his high school team. He was primary guy at Wofford with the ball in his hands, and made the most plays. So now you're in a position where you're coming off the bench. You have to figure out, how do I do that? How do I impact and bring something to the group? Because, many times the team, whether it's your best couple players, they have a certain identity. Guys come off the bench, you have to bring something different or bring something to enhance the group. And what we've tried to do with Pav is show him when he has the energy, when he has the fight, when he has that spirit and that toughness, how it transcends our team and makes everybody better. Probably up to this point, he's used that competitive spirit differently, and now he needs to use it in other ways. So we try to show him the film. I spend a lot of time with him individually, just saying, this is the visual picture it needs to look like. When you look like this, you play like this. When you defend like this, we play like this. When you elevate us, this is what happens. So it is with intent, and it is with demands, and it is with holding them to that standard. And we're confident that he can continue to make that climb.
And Rob Jones seems to give you a lot of the same impact, right? But he's big and he doesn't play the same style of game. So what is it like having those kind of have similar styles with be totally different frames?
Yeah, I mean, Rob Jones is, I mean, again, I think for everybody, the growth and development we've seen from the start to what it is right now is an unbelievable credit to Rob Jones. I feel like every night we take the floor, like we have the physical, toughest interior player that's going to come into the game. I think that has an effect on everybody else. In a totally different way, I thought many years ago as an assistant, Melvin Edgem in his way had the most toughness of anyone on the court, and that made everybody else play tougher. I think Rob Jones has that ability to elevate his teammates, and everyone else is playing tougher. I'm not as much of a numbers guy as a mentality guy, but now when you start to look at the numbers with Rob and his offensive efficiency and his performance and how he impacts everybody else, he makes our offense so much better when he's on the floor. And I think that's something for many last year, if you'd have said that, they wouldn't believe it. Well, now numbers say he's probably as impactful as anybody to what we do offensively, and it's not just because he's shooting in the 70s from the field, it's all those other things. So I couldn't be more proud of Rob, and I think guys that are in this program for multiple years are going to get better, and Rob is like, as much as anybody could be, like this is, you know, the guy who's like the poster or the front page of what that would look like.
Still a couple weeks away from an update on Hassan, or
Yeah, still a few weeks left. You know, he's starting to try to get back with doing like some biking and things like that to get his cardio. But he's walking in a sneaker now. But I think, like, I don't know, I hadn't thought about it here, but I feel like we're still on the same timeline that non-conference play is probably not realistic, and that, you know, we're hopeful that early in conference play, but I think that'll be more determined a few weeks from now when he starts to have those, you know, he's starting to jog on it and starting to have those doctor's appointments to see how it's adapting at that point. But I think we're still on that same timeline that we led with.